Looks like we're going to meet again sooner than I thought we would. Sir Owen Disney here, and I apologize it's so late. Obviously I worked today, as you know, if you're a regular Pop viewer. And after I went and had some Long John Silvers, and then I sat through Blended with AJ. Yeah, that review's coming up tomorrow, and oh, it's gonna be a doozy. We'll just leave it at that. If you're curious, AJ's movie review will be up tomorrow, late afternoon. We're also going to be talking about X-Men Days of Future Past and a few other films as well. So, Dr. Jimmy released another cryptic performance, this being number 10. And this cryptic performance was Heart from Damn Yankees. And it's a very interesting one. And I know you could see that there's a lot of different ways you can go with this. Obviously, there's a Faust connection, but I don't think that's where we're going here. I may be totally wrong, and I may be missing that boat, and maybe just sailing away from me right now, but that's not what I think we're getting at here. I think we're looking at the fact that you're taking a ragtag group and making them get along to make them a better team. That's where we're starting with this, okay? I will say right now, there is a lot of reasons to believe right now, and I could be wrong, but I said this in January, and I softened on it, and then I thought, you know, maybe, and then I thought, nah, it's not coming, and then I thought, yeah, and I thought, no, and I flip-flopped so many times, I might as well have like a spring in my neck right now. But, as of this very moment, I believe, at least currently, that this is pointing to our Walking Dead house. Yes. And there's a lot of speculation whether we are or are not going to get The Walking Dead at the event this year. And as a matter of fact, there's actually some rumors right now that there could be a potential Walking Dead scare zone, and they don't get a house. Well, think about it this way. The scare zone for The Walking Dead, and that's all they would get, would be kind of a screw you to all the diehards from last year that don't want Walking Dead back, period, much less want a scare zone out of one of their many street experiences. So, this is no disrespect to anyone who thinks that The Walking Dead is not going to return this year. And, of course, I'm shouting out to a really great updater, and that's HHN. I will say that there's a lot of reasons to believe that The Walking Dead will come, and there's a lot of reasons The Walking Dead will not come. And if it doesn't come, that means that we are probably going to get the first of many American Horror Story houses this year, and it looks like it would be based upon Coven. A lot of hints going to Coven. Witchcraft and voodoo and all the strange imagery in both the Cassie Clues and the Dr. Jimmy performances, the New Orleans performance from O Streetcar I talked about during yesterday's video. But if it's not, it looks like we're getting a voodoo scare zone in Central Park. It's what it looks like at this moment. And we are not getting American Horror Story. We are getting one more Walking Dead house. And here's the reason why I think so. Now, there are some lines in The Walking Dead, There's some lines in Heart that kind of jump out at me. It says, "You've got to have hope, mustn't sit around and mope, nothing's half as bad as it may appear, wait till next year and hope." To me, this says, it's not going to be as bad as you think it will be. It'll still be a good house. And don't worry, next year we'll get American Horror Story, say goodbye to The Walking Dead, and we'll start fresh with a new horror television property. That's what I justify the song lyrics to mean. Whether I'm right or not, that's anyone's guess, but that's what I'm thinking as of this moment. And like I said, I talked about at the beginning of this video that putting together a ragtag group sounds a little bit like the Survivors to me, actually, to be totally honest. And there is a character that is in the comics, and his name is Negan or Negan. Like I said, I'm not a Walking Dead guy, I wouldn't know this. And supposedly he's going to be appearing in Season 5 somewhere. Now, this character is pretty hardcore. Kind of reminds me of Marv from Sin City, and just in appearance alone. And he has a barbed wire baseball bat that he calls Lucille. It's rather interesting. Well, here's another connection. The UK title of Damn Yankees is What Lola Wants, Lola Gets. And that's a very interesting thing. Obviously, don't want to utilize the word damn in the title, or obviously it wouldn't make much sense calling it anything like that. So they used What Lola Wants, Lola Gets. Well, here's where I think I may have stumbled onto something, if I have. Okay, if you remember last year when we got our announcement for Resident Evil, the cryptic comment was Christine. And Christine wasn't one of the characters, it was actually a password for the Resident Evil computer game. That's why I'm thinking I might potentially be on the right track. Lola is a character in the social media version of the Walking Dead game. And apparently, Lola had a boyfriend before the outbreak, and she dated many others in high school. She's basically a man-eater. She was one of the rural Georgia survivors, and of course she killed that aforementioned boyfriend, and now she's dead. But could that equal out to The Walking Dead? Interesting. Interesting possibilities. So here's another connection too. Damn Yankees itself. Now, if you look into it from a literal perspective, Damn Yankees, as well as a Broadway play, is also a band. And this band stars Ted Nugent. That's right, the Nuge. And Ted Nugent has two connections. Number one, he has a song that he performed called Terminus El Dorado. Obviously, Terminus is a major location from Season 4 of The Walking Dead. And a song of his called Turn It Up was featured in an episode in Season 3 called This Sorrowful Life. So what am I saying in this very short video? I'm sorry it's not any longer. I don't have any Cassie clues. Just got one Dr. Jimmy performance to speculate on. Well, like I said, there's a lot of reasons for me to believe what I said back in January to still be the truth. I think that the song itself was telling us it's not going to be as bad as you think it is, and The Walking Dead will return, but don't worry, it's only one house, it's only one more time, and maybe we'll get American Horror Story next year. That's how I see this right now. Now, granted, I could be missing the mark like crazy. But, at least from my perspective at this very moment, it actually makes sense. Now, here's another thing, too. Another thing is the fact that you also have to look into a couple of things. Number one, we're also looking into the fact that this is potentially connected to the cryptic code word from Hollywood, Teen Spirit. Well, it's interesting that Teen Spirit gets brought up because I said when I first heard this, when Brian got a hold of me on Twitter and told me that Dr. Jimmy had a new performance. Obviously, I was at work today. I wasn't able to really look into it until just about 20 minutes ago. And that's the reason I knew I had to do this video tonight. I looked into it immediately, and it said to boost your team spirit. Well, there was a connection to Teen Spirit that somebody told me, I think it was Tim that told me that it was the connection to Teen Spirit. It's like, well, Teen Spirit to me is The Walking Dead. Here's why Teen Spirit's The Walking Dead. If you didn't watch my Teen Spirit video on the Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood speculation, I'll explain that obviously the teen comedy we're talking about here obviously connected us to Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which connected us to Sean Penn. Sean Penn is in a movie called Dead Man Walking, literally The Walking Dead, just flip it around. Sometimes it's not as hard as you think it is. And that's why I was thinking that Teen Spirit is The Walking Dead. They're going to get a Walking Dead house. Maybe the Backlot Experience, potentially. I think they already got that. Because I think The Purge gets the Terror Tram this year. I know we could get 3 years of a Walking Dead Terror Tram. But I think maybe, if you want to go in that perspective, maybe 1 more year of The Walking Dead and the Terror Tram, and The Purge gets the Backlot Experience this year. But I think that it's a possibility The Purge could get the terror tram in Hollywood. So I will say that that's a possibility as well. And like I said, that connects me to The Walking Dead via Sean Penn, and it made sense to me that would be the case, because obviously someone that was in Fast Times, which is the teen comedy that I connected it to, is also something from their previous work, literally Dead Man Walking, Walking Dead. Like I said, sometimes it's not just going through clue upon clue after clue. Sometimes it's literally right before your eyes, and you don't necessarily have to work for it as much as you think you do sometimes. I could be wrong about that, but it made sense to me. So that's what I'm looking at right now. And obviously, before I get going, I do want to mention it's really interesting that obviously it was really cool that J. Michael Roddy was on The Walking Dead, and there's an awesome picture of it on Dr. Jimmy's Tumblr. And there's also a lot of interesting imagery. I wouldn't really connect anything other than the fact he's got some Jack pictures on there. But then again, he always posts that. There's a picture from Clear last year, and there's a lot of connections to a film that is called, excuse me, it's been a long day. Really a long day, actually. It's called After Hours, actually. It's a Martin Scorsese film from 1985, and there's interesting, maybe a connection there, potentially. Obviously, there's several pictures on Maleficent, putting over the movie for next week, and really cool pictures from Battle Royale. I'd love to have Battle Royale house. That would be awesome. And still more Twin Peaks stuff. So yeah, that's, like I said, may not be any connection at all. Maybe Dr. Jimmy wants to post some cool stuff. He's got some Buffy stuff, Buffy imagery as well. And yeah, it's obviously like Rosemary's Baby and the A Haunted House too. Just basically he's posting stuff about Universal Horror. So maybe there's nothing really to it, and there probably isn't anything to it, but it's something interesting to look at. So, and as I'm looking at it while I'm talking to you guys, because I want to make sure I cover everything, and that's rather interesting that would be the case. So yeah, a lot of Beetlejuice stuff, which I still hold true to the fact that I believe we're actually going to get a Beetlejuice house somewhere down the line. Like I said, I think we get Ghostbusters and Beetlejuice. They're both pieces of old school Universal, and I think they'll both end up at the event. I think Ghostbusters event is at the event this year. I'm not positive yet, but I think that that's possibly coming up. I don't know. I don't have a cryptic comment to lead us to Ghostbusters yet. I don't have a cryptic performance to lead us to Ghostbusters yet, but I would be interesting to think that it might be coming soon. I hope so. It'd be really nice to hear that. And yeah, I'm looking at some interesting things here. He's wearing a shirt from Charleston, South Carolina, and trying to connect Charleston, South Carolina, potentially The Walking Dead. Yeah, it's not that easy. So yeah, it's just sometimes the shirts don't matter. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So I could be wrong. Who knows? But yes, basically, oh yeah, they have a zombie run. So yeah, there you go. There's your connection. If you really want to go there. Like I said, sometimes Dr. Jimmy just likes to post pictures, and there's not always something to the pictures. Sometimes there is, sometimes there's not. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Probably nothing to think about, really, to delve into. So I have to make sure real quick before I get finished. Yeah. Okay, we're good. So yeah, sorry about that. I wanted to make sure that I got all the pertinent information before I ended this video, because why would I want to forget something at the very last minute? Because I really don't want to do that. So that's what we got as of right now. So, like I said, I'm connecting Damn Yankees to the band Damn Yankees, whose Ted Nugent is a big part of Damn Yankees. And he has the song that's Terminus El Dorado. He had the song Turn It Up that was on an episode of The Walking Dead. And the song is literally, the Heart song is literally about putting a ragtag group together, which makes total sense that Survivors in Atlanta would be the ones that we're referring to. Obviously, like I said, if I mess up any terminology when it comes to The Walking Dead, I told you numerous times last year, and I'll say it again, I'm not a Walking Dead guy, so I would not know anything about that. And I literally think that the Heart song is, to the diehards actually, it's a straight love letter to the diehards saying, don't worry about it, the house would be great, and you never know what's going to happen next year. Maybe next year we're going to start American Horror Story. So just get through one more Walking Dead house, and we promise you, I have faith in Universal A&D that are going to make a great house for the Walking Dead this year, if that is the case. If it ends up being American Horror Story, like I said, I've bounced back and forth numerous times, so it could go either way. But I will say right now that either way, we're still having fun, obviously, and it's great to speculate, so that's what I've got right now. If I find out some new information or new Cassie clue, you'll probably get something from me again this week. And that announcement is coming soon, and it is almost the end of May now, so we have 3 days until soon could possibly be, or maybe soon could be a couple of weeks from now. Who knows, depending on if you believe the speculation that we have out there right now. As always, shout out to all the Horror Nights updaters, as well as Dr. Jimmy, and shout out to my good friends Psychomassacre Films and Dr. Emmett Brown 1, as well as UK HHN and Thrill Seeker Network, and Mr. Horror Nights, Deadly Fear 1283, Admiral HHN, HHN Trogdor, Crazy Englishman, all the awesome Horror Night updaters on the internet, and obviously big shout outs to Brian and Sean and Mystic Freak and Tim and all the awesome people I keep dissecting these performances and clues with on Facebook and Twitter. So, speaking of Facebook and Twitter, if you like these videos, tell your friends about them, leave a comment, do subscribe, and help spread the word about Pop. If you'd like to, and you haven't yet, like our Facebook fan page at Sir Owen Disney Pop on Facebook. You can send me a friend request on Facebook, it's Owen Disney. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you're more than welcome to. It's at Sir Owen Disney. Last but certainly not least, you want to send your thoughts, comments, queries, and opinions, you want to talk Horror Nights with me, ideas you have for all the event for this year, whether it's a house, a scare zone, what you think is the answer to this cryptic performance, or what you think may have been altered, then send me an email, sirowendisney@gmail.com. In the meantime, I do want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching, and until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I got to say about that.